Hello WWE world. This is Wrestle Talk Reality, back with the hottest wrestling updates. Subscribe now and let's break it down. Things got personal on WWE Raw tonight. It wasn't a scripted segment, it wasn't hype, it felt raw, real, and deeply emotional. CM Punk and Jey Uso, two men on entirely different paths, found themselves face to face backstage in a moment that will be talked about for weeks. What started as a quiet exchange between two veterans quickly turned into a clash of pride, pain, and respect. The cameras didn't need commentary. The silence between them said everything. You could sense years of frustration, loyalty, and betrayal hovering in the air like static before a storm. The unexpected encounter. CM Punk was seen walking down the corridor, still processing everything that had happened earlier in the night. His body language told a story, a mix of fatigue, disappointment, and the trademark defiance that defines him. Then, out of nowhere, Jey Uso stepped into frame. The arena lights glared softly off the metallic walls as the two locked eyes. The atmosphere shifted instantly. No crowd noise, no commentary, just the quiet hum of tension. Jey didn't come in with swagger or attitude. He came in with sincerity, the kind that stops you mid-stride. "I know I've been all over the place," he began, his voice steady but heavy with emotion. "But I saw what happened out there, and something's telling me I need to do right by you." Respect meets resistance. At first, it looked like Jey wanted to make peace, maybe even offer an alliance. But Punk, never one to accept kindness at face value, didn't react with gratitude. He turned slowly, scanning Jey from head to toe, and asked a question that froze the room. "Can I trust you, or are you just little Roman?" The line hit with brutal honesty. It wasn't just a shot at Jey, it was a challenge to everything he's fought to separate himself from. Punk wasn't insulting him, he was forcing him to define himself. For a brief second, even the backstage crew seemed to hold their breath. A line, drawn in the sand. Those words carried years of history, between families, between egos, between legacies. Jey Uso has spent most of his career trying to prove that he's more than a supporting act in someone else's story. Punk, on the other hand, has spent his life distrusting authority and the systems that define wrestling hierarchies. When he threw that question at Jey, it wasn't just about loyalty, it was about identity. Jey didn't blink. He stepped forward, close enough that you could feel the intensity radiating between them, and said firmly, "You're talking to Jey Uso, not little Roman, not anyone else." His voice didn't crack, and his eyes didn't move. It was the kind of statement that rewrites a career in one sentence. A moment of truth. That exchange was small, but it spoke volumes. It wasn't about storylines, it was about validation. Jey Uso wanted to show that he had evolved beyond being a follower, beyond being a twin, beyond being a shadow. CM Punk, meanwhile, was confronting his own doubt. In the world of wrestling, trust is rarer than gold. Everyone wants allies until it's time to fight, and Punk has built a career on walking alone. So when he asked that question, it wasn't cruel. It was survival. The backstage area turned into a metaphor for every locker room alliance that ever crumbled under pressure. The brotherhood that never was. Some fans immediately speculated that this could be the start of a new alliance, two men bonded by shared distrust and resilience. Others saw it as a spark before a storm. Either way, the chemistry between them was undeniable. There was something haunting about seeing Punk, once the ultimate loner, facing a man who knows what it's like to lose everything for loyalty. Their interaction hinted at a deeper story beneath the surface. Two fighters who recognize themselves in each other, but might still be destined to collide. Wrestling thrives on that tension between respect and rivalry, and this moment captured it perfectly. Emotion behind the curtain. Backstage moments like these remind fans why professional wrestling is more than athleticism. It's emotion, storytelling, and human conflict distilled into performance. The brilliance of this segment wasn't in scripted dialogue, but in nuance. The way Punk paused before speaking, the way Jey kept his ground without shouting, it all felt lived in. You could sense that these weren't just lines, they were echoes of real feelings shared by real men carrying the weight of careers, families, and reputations. It was acting and truth blended together so naturally that it transcended television. Locker room reactions. After the cameras stopped rolling, reports suggest that the energy backstage shifted completely. Some wrestlers saw it as a defining moment for Jey Uso. a declaration that he belongs in the main event conversation on his own merit. Others focused on Punk's demeanor, noting that his controlled anger and subtle sarcasm signal he's entering a darker, more introspective chapter. The confrontation wasn't just two stars talking, it reshaped the internal dynamics of the entire roster. Suddenly, alliances felt uncertain, friendships felt fragile, and rivalries felt real again. What comes next? No one knows whether Punk and Jey will stand side by side or face off in the weeks ahead. What's certain is that both men are now entangled in something that goes beyond storyline, a shared understanding that trust in WWE is as dangerous as betrayal. Punk's decision to walk away instead of responding outright might have been strategy, or maybe it was emotional self-preservation. Jey, for his part, looked ready for either outcome, partnership or confrontation. Fans are now left wondering whether they've just witnessed the birth of a powerful alliance or the first chapter of a bitter feud. The power of storytelling. This short backstage segment proves something many fans forget. The best moments in wrestling don't always happen in the ring. Sometimes it's in the quiet conversations, the hesitant glances, and the tension between two people trying to figure out if they can trust each other. CM Punk and Jey Uso didn't need punches, pyrotechnics, or monologues to make an impact. They needed honesty. That's why the scene hit so hard. It felt human. It showed that wrestling, at its core, is still about storytelling, emotion, and the unpredictable nature of trust. A new chapter begins. As the show went off the air, one thing became clear. Something fundamental had shifted. CM Punk stood once again at a crossroads, guarded, analytical, unwilling to let anyone in. Jey Uso, meanwhile, had found his voice, no longer defined by bloodlines or legacies. Their brief exchange turned into a defining mirror moment. Each man seeing a reflection of what he could become. Whether they join forces or tear each other apart, the emotional groundwork has been laid for one of the most compelling rivalries or partnerships of the modern era. The final word, WWE, thrives when it blurs the line between fiction and truth, and that's exactly what happened here. Punk's doubt, Jey's conviction, and the silence that followed left fans debating not about wins and losses, but about loyalty and identity. It's storytelling at its purest. Two characters who don't need scripts to create tension, just shared humanity. Maybe Punk was right to question trust. Maybe Jey was right to offer it anyway. Either way, their meeting reminded everyone watching that behind every rivalry, every promo, and every match, wrestling is still about people, flawed, passionate, searching people, trying to find their place in a world that demands both strength and vulnerability.